Hey, everybody, let's try this again. Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. Jen Marie, I hope you're feeling better. I really do hope you feel better. I know that last night was a rough one for you. And my thoughts and prayers are with you. It's an ugly world we're currently living in. And I'm sorry that it was ugly to you yesterday. Really, I am. So, speaking of ugly worlds, hey, Clearwater Chad, not you, speaking of ugly worlds. Clearwater Chad, good to see you. I'm going to speak about ugly worlds in a second, though. Just Pauline. Sorry, that sounded awful. General Boaz, that was a Bonnie. Hey, Nat B from Canada, good to see you. Sandy, how are you? Scoob with the Dragon Ball. I feel like I got beat up. I believe that, Jen Marie. It usually is worse the next day. I was thinking of you this morning when I woke up. I know you got hit. It's always worse. If you've been in a fight, it's the next day, and I'm not trying to bum you out, but usually the day after that's even worse. You usually like day two. It's like working out. Like when you do leg day. The first time you do leg day and you really break yourself off, and it's like you do it on a Monday and Tuesday, you feel like you just can't move. But on Wednesday, God forbid, you can't even stand up, right? Yes, Saguaro Christmas. Yeah. What I meant, I didn't mean to put a question mark. I meant to put an exclamation point. Yeah, he is a dirt bag of epic proportion. This is my argument for the fact that evil is real in the world. Actually, Banfield, who is doing the interview with Drew Peterson, Ashley Banfield has been doing this for a really, really long time. And by the way, is an excellent example of somebody that just has aged and done it beautifully. Ashley Banfield has been doing what she's been doing since I was a boy, it seems like. We got to be pretty close to the same age. She's aged a heck of a lot better than I have. But I've always just found Ashley to be lovely. But and the interview that she did with him, I remember, if you've ever watched me talk about Drew Peterson, I said that in the short time I knew Drew, I watched him slip. I watched that cat start to slip. And I said to him, you're going to tell on yourself constantly. You're getting to that point in life where you're no longer Doodle Mom. Good to see you. New subscriber from Wisconsin. Glad that you're here. Welcome. Taekwondo for life. Good to see you. I was worried about you because I do that from time to time. LJ, good to see you. You live where Peterson lived? Well, I lived one unit over from old Drewski, but he and I worked in the same kitchen complex at Terre Haute, the Federal Correction Institution at Terre Haute, Indiana. The state of Illinois, right, was afraid to put Drew in the state population because as a state cop, he had put a grip of people behind bars that he would be doing time with. Doesn't make you really popular with the fellas who you gave a life sentence to. They see you on the yard, they think, I think I'd like to stab that guy. Okay? He's tops on your list. Cops have to be wildly protected. They protected Drew by giving him a different ID and sticking him in the feds, which worked about not particularly well. I mean, he's Drew Peterson. He sticks out like Wednesday in the middle of the week. The first time I saw him, I looked at him and I went, holy crap, it's Drew Peterson. What he did was not a federal offense, but trying to kill, killing his wife is a state crime. But then he tried to have a prosecutor killed, and that was a federal thing. And they took him and put him into a federal prison when he got sent to a medical yard where he was for a little while, where our paths crossed. But I worked with Drew 36 hours a week for a long time. He is an evil cat. He really is. But I've told the story on the boat. I've also told it over on Esoteric Atlanta. Great channel. If you've never seen it, go over and check out Bryce. I told this whole story on Bryce's channel. And by whole story, I mean what really happened to Drew Peterson's wife that disappeared. Because he told me, and I told the story over there. But I will tell you this, he killed her. And Drew confessed in two ways, in two waves, two sessions. The first time Drew confessed, he did it by accident. And it was so very similar to the Ashley Banfield interview. Ashley asks him, she says to him, Drew, you're not going to live to 127 years old. And I promise you, he's not, right? His health wasn't all that good when I was with him, and that was a long time ago. But she says, you're not going to live to 127 years old. And why not just lay it all out? That's a great looking cat. Why not just lay it all out? Now, his response, if you're anybody that didn't do this, and someone says, why not lay it all out and explain the whole thing? You would go, what do you want me to lay out? Right? What do you want me to lay out? Well, Drew was talking to me one day, and he was talking about all the people that lied about him on the stand. Woe is Drew. Poor Drew. The counselor lied. The minister lied. The detective lied. Stacy lied. And I said, Stacy lied to Drew? Stacy was on the stand? And Drew said, no, oh no, Stacy was dead by then. Now keep in mind, she supposedly ran away. But he said to me, oh no, Stacy was already dead by then. And I went, she was what, Drew? Huh? And I gave him a big crap-eating grin. We were in a really small room. And it was just a you're busted, right? Banfield did a great job. I agree, Jen Marie. I really think she did. But I looked at him and went, huh? What? And he goes, well, that's what everybody says. And I go, no, old man, you're slipping. I've told this story on the boat many times. So I said to him, you're slipping, Drew. I said, it doesn't matter because I'm getting out in a year. But you say this to some fool who's got 25 years left on his sentence, and he's going to try to go cut a deal, right? Wear a wire and get your dumb, decrepit, Now I don't think they care. I think this interview, if you watch it in its entirety, and I can't do that here because if I do, I don't care what they say about fair usage and all that. If I talk through the entire interview, I'm still not going to get monetized. But I would love to show that beginning clip if I could, Calhoun, because and there's. Sorry, there you go. If we could pull up just that intro when she first starts talking to him.
You're definitely not going to live to 127. That's for sure. So what's the downside of just laying it all out there? What's the downside of just saying it all?
What's the downside? I'm not wanting my children to believe that I killed their mothers. I do not want my kids to think that about me.
It sounds like you did do that and you just don't want them to know.
No.
You also see the guy behind the door. That's going to be a dude out there in the hall working a mop. Go ahead.
I didn't do that. I want them to know the truth and believe the truth.
Drew, I just asked you what's the downside of just laying it all out there. And the answer would have been, there's nothing to lay out. Instead, you said, I don't want my children knowing.
No, I don't want them thinking that of me.
You see what I just did?
Sure.
I asked you what the downside is of just laying it all out there and being honest. And you said you didn't want your children knowing that.
We can sit here and you're an expert interviewer.
You're an expert interviewer. No, I mean, what's happening to Drew is this is one of those situations where, I sat in a room. He wasn't wearing red at the time. He was wearing khaki. But I said to him, you got to stop talking to people about this case, Drew. You need to stop talking about this case because you're a liar, right? And it's a bust. And then I told the story on Esoteric Atlanta. But then I was walking the yard with him and another guy I talk about all the time on here. A friend of mine from inside who went from 300 pounds down to about 180. My friend that was absolutely massive and lost weight in there. His name's Austin. But Austin, myself, and Drew Peterson were on Night Yard. You know, the thing that we talk about with Russ all the time on here. Well, we were on Night Yard. It was where you were allowed to be out until 9 o'clock at night. So we were out walking underneath the lights, and old Drewski started talking, and it was weird because I had talked to him for so many hours, for so long, and he had known Austin maybe 3 weekends. We had gone out and kicked it on the bench or whatever, and not like star stuff, but it's just kind of fascinating to meet a dude that the whole world kind of knew. And Austin like doesn't care. He's one of those dudes that just straight doesn't care. Most people inside don't ask about your crimes. They don't do stuff like that. So Austin, second time he knows him, right? Leans over and goes, "What's the deal, dude? Huh? What's the deal?" He's like, "I don't want to know where the body is. I'm not trying to make any money off you or get you busted." He lifts his shirt up. He's like, "I'm not wearing wire. I'm not doing any of these things." He's like, "What's the deal? Did you knock her off or what?" And I thought, and he goes, "You want to hear what happened? You want to hear what happened?" Right. And then Drewski proceeded to admit that he tells a completely different story than I promised what the truth is. But the story that he tells is that he killed her in the kitchen. She attacked him, by the way. Drew was defending himself from this small, petite woman who was wearing high heels. According to him, the fight was started over what she was wearing. Drew was under the impression that she was having an affair with everyone. He was considerably older than she was, right? At that age where I think it starts to become an issue for guys. They start becoming paranoid that, you know what, I'm wrinkled to beat hell. I would imagine that if my girlfriend was in her early 20s, that I'd probably be a little paranoid. You know what I mean? There's also not much chance of me having a girlfriend in the early 20s, right? But this guy consistently cheated on the wife he was with the one he was going to replace her with. And I spent a lot of time with Drew Peterson, right? We sat in an office. He sat down and said, he started telling the story about his first divorce and how much money it cost him. He must have said 100 times, "Man, they took half that cash. They took half of that money." Audio is trippy today. I'm sorry, people. I don't know what the deal is. I've not changed anything. Let me see something real quick. Be with me for 1 second. Honey, if you're touching anything, let me do this real quick just because. Uh-huh. And now you can tell me if that sounds a little bit better. Do we have a better sound quality on that? Can I get a 5x5? That's a lot better. That's what I thought. That's not the weather, people. That's on me. That's on me. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. With all that hockey hullabaloo and that, you know what? Anne Murray, too. I love Anne Murray. Let me go on the record for saying that woman is the voice, has the voice of an angel, like Fergie. And you're really funny, by the way. Who said that? Was that Jen? You know what it was? Jen, very quick. Very, very quick and very, very funny. Calhoun, tell me you don't love the Blame Canada reference. Drew was forever replacing the next wife before he got rid of the last one. In the case of, now I'm not trying to, listen, get this clear. I'm not victim shaming. I do not do that. It's not something that happens. However, if we're being really, really honest, right? Drew and his last wife, Stacy, tormented the wife that drowned in the bathtub, right? Drew's second to last wife. They tormented this person. He was living in the basement at one point, sleeping downstairs with this girl who was 21, something like that. I mean, she was really, really young. Drew was open and honest with the fact that when Drew began seeing her, she wasn't even legal. Right? This was a bad dude. This was a really, really bad dude. And I don't say that about a lot of people. Especially, I mean, if I meet, look, I've met people that have killed individuals. If you go to prison, you meet a lot of people that have killed people. There's not much a way of avoiding it. And you come to the realization that if someone doesn't tell you first, right, that's the crime that they're in for, more often than not, you meet these people and go, yeah, I never would have seen that coming. They don't seem evil. They don't seem like there's some kind of a dark and twisted thing going on, right? Like behind the eyes, there's something that you could see, Manson kind of stuff, right? Well, more often than not, you don't see that. More often than not, you see somebody just like the person you check out in the mirror every morning. But something happened, right? Something happened. People snapped, right? Whatever. Then you come across cats like Drew. And I'm telling you right now, it is a different animal altogether. J9, well played. He's an evil slug. He's an evil slug. He's an evil slug that so badly does not want to pay child support, or I'm sorry, alimony, that he would rather kill the wife than give up half the house, give up half the money. In the interview with Ashley Banfield, she makes a reference to the book that O.J. Simpson wrote. And the name of the book was If I Did It. I don't know if you all are familiar with this book. It was not in print very long. All of the money that that was made from it ended up going to he didn't get a penny out of it, right? But he tried to do it through some ghost writing and yeah, absolutely incredibly bad taste. But it's basically OJ describing what really happened. At least that's how most people who read it, that's what they walk away with. Ironically, that book was in the feds, in the unit that he was in. I never read the book. I mean, not while in prison, never. It wasn't something that, but he mentioned it. Ashley Banfield brought it up, and he didn't say, I would never write something like that. What, I'm going to theorize about what happened to her, right? I would never do that. That's the sickest thing in the world. What kind of twisted bastard does that to their kids? That's not what he said. He said, yeah, I don't think OJ got any money from that, did he? It's a glimpse of who this guy is. I've talked about him over the course of a bunch of different shows that I've done, talking about Drew Peterson, right? And being close to him personally. And the fact that he is just a real narcissist, right? The real thing. There's nobody home. You look at the eyes and it's just like non-human. But the response is just so Drew. Like I was watching this with several other people who went, oh my God. Like, I can't believe it. That's what he would have said, right? To me, there wasn't even a split second of being surprised. It's who he is. He then talks, the Drew can't shut up. He's like me. One of those people that talks a lot. But even when they were done filming, he continued to talk and talk and talk and talk. And he made a reference, which he finds really funny. And I've heard him say this. I've heard him say this so many times, right? But he would say to women, well, you got nothing to worry about from me unless we're married. Now he's getting old and he's slipping. But what he said this time is, I wouldn't kill you unless I married you, or something along those lines. But I had heard him word that so many different ways. He'd say, oh, you know what? I've known women my whole life. I've known thousands and thousands of women. The only ones that end up dead are the ones that married me. He thinks that crap's funny. He makes a point of saying that he's in prison because he's got a bad sense of humor. Oh, he's got a bad sense of humor. But he's in prison because he's a narcissist that thought he could get away with murder as many times as he wanted. That's really who Drew Peterson is. And that is a cat in a basket. Yes, she's still on.
Right.
And he wrote a book about if he'd done it, this is the way he would have done it.
Right.
Did you ever think about something like that?
No,
You're a liar, Drew.
not at all.
You never imagine if I'd actually done it, this is the way it would have happened?
I don't think that. Does OJ get to keep any of that money?
Not anymore.
I mean, honestly, is that where you thought a normal person that doesn't know this narcissist, is that where you thought he was going to go? Where he says, I mean, honestly, I don't think, did he get to keep any of that money? There's your boy. There's Drew Peterson, right there. That's your boy. Maxine, yeah. The ultimate sicko. Give you a great example of who this guy is, right? There's a dude leaving prison, and Drew's sitting on the bench outside with this guy. And the guy had been there for like 2 weeks, right? And no paperwork had gotten there. You're allowed 2 weeks. You can get up to about 3. You got like a grace period. But so Drew said to me, yeah, apparently they're transferring the guy. I said, no one's seen his paperwork yet. I was kind of advising him to not be talking to this dude. It just looks bad. Until somebody's paperwork comes in and people know that the guy's all right, you shouldn't have a conversation with him. And a lot of people didn't like Drew anyway because he was a cop and the feds. I mean, he had never busted any Fed people, but still, he wasn't particularly popular. He was always in a fight. Drew was just plain stupid. But I was trying to advise the guy, but he says, oh, but I got a deal going with this dude you won't believe. And I said, try me. This guy was leaving prison and he went home to the streets and they had this whole hustle set up with the National Enquirer. And the story came out that Drew Peterson stole my wife from prison. Right? And I got all these letters or whatever about how Drew started writing to his cellmate's wife and blah, blah, blah. And the whole thing was a setup. But the dude sold the story to the National Enquirer with one of Drew's IDs and some letters that Drew had supposedly written. And the idea was that, the guy's going to sell this for $5,000 and put, $2,000 or $3,000 onto the books, which is like the virtual bank that you get in prison, so that Drew could buy him some Monster honey buns. He was pretty fond of those every Sunday. But as it worked out, the guy got out, got the money, and didn't give Drew any. This is a recurring theme with Drew. This is a recurring theme with him. When I left, the last time that I talked to anybody, I left Terre Haute and got shipped because I was going to be heading home. But Austin stayed there, and he said that Drew had moved in with a person that was in the process of transitioning, apparently, from one gender to another. And then shortly after that move-in, I don't know what happened, where all of a sudden they came in, got him in the middle of the night, packed him up, and took him back to the state. And they say that he is in Illinois. Now he's in protective custody because in the interview, he asks him what kind of people that, are in there. And he said murderers, and he mentions people that touch kids. Now, that's not an option in the feds, you understand? That's not a federal offense. That's a state crime. That doesn't mean there are not weirdos in the feds, because there are tons of them. There are people that did something in the state, that follows you to the feds, or they did something on the internet, because all of that is a federal offense. Anything you're doing with internet, pictures, things like that, all that's federal. So there's a bunch of freaks in the feds, but they're just a different type. Drew is an older guy, never getting out. Will he ever be a shot caller? Hell no. Hell no. So, in spite of the fact that Drew is quite willing to fight, right? I watched him do it several times. He's not particularly good at it, but he is more than willing to get busy. Drew didn't ask for protection. He didn't do any of that crap. He just fought and lost. I didn't lose all of them. He actually he put an effort in from time to time, but Drew was not. Well, I can't talk much about where he is at now, but he would have to live to be 127, right, to get out. He is so old now. In order to be a shot caller, he would have had to have started his criminal career probably in the 80s, right? In the 1980s when he was really young. But more importantly, he is, because of the fact that he is now in a state prison where he used to be a cop, he is in protective custody. I mean, the kind of protective custody that he is in with the worst of the worst of the worst. He is 70 now, says Nat B from Canada. I guess that sounds about right. I watched him slip massively in the short time that I knew him. And watching him in this interview with Ashley Banfield, this is the first time that I have seen Drew since the 19s, right? Since the teens. I haven't seen him, it's been more than 4 years, 5 years since I've seen Drew Peterson, 6 years maybe, something like that. So he's aged so much, 5 years it's been. He's aged so much in the last 5 years. It's incredible. It's incredible. It really is. They show him moving around. He's failing. You Googled it. There you go. Yeah, DeAudrey Gore makes a great point. Whatever smooth talking he used to be able to do is long gone. When I met Drew, full disclosure, when I met Drew, so he would have been 65, 64, right? 64, I think, when I met him, or 63, 64, right in there. Okay. And was quick on his feet. And oddly enough, I'm not joking, had a way of charming people, women in particular. He did. He had a way of doing it. There was a woman that we worked for at FCI Terre Haute that worked in the kitchen. It was a lovely lady. I would say she was probably in her 30s or 40s. Lovely, lovely lady. And she seemed absolutely fascinated by Drew. Absolutely fascinated by him. Did everything within her power to make sure that he was there. If she was at work, so was he. Like she made sure that every single time she was there, he was in the office. Now, the door was never shut, the blinds weren't closed, there's nothing like that. But the two of them spent a lot of time in the same office together. We're talking about Drew Peterson, not to be confused with Scott Peterson. Drew Peterson just recently did an interview with Ashley Banfield. Calhoun, if you can find the clip where Drew talks about not my show age, but gag me with a spoon. I love it, JJ. If you can find the clip of film where he talks about her having nothing to worry about unless she marries him. This is a guy, he was a police officer. He was a cop in, I think, a town called Bolingbrook, Illinois. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Bolingbrook Police Department, Bolingbrook, Illinois. And he was a cop. At one point, he was an undercover cop. But Drew had been married 4 times, right? And he continued to used to shop at my shops as a mixed bag of donuts. Seen him a few times, yep. He continued to divorce wives and marry younger wives, or the wife before his last, who was very young. His last wife was very, very young, right? Her name was Stacy. Prior to Stacy, he was married to a woman named Kathleen Salvio. she died, right? She drowned in a bathtub that had very, very, very little water. Shane Warren, thank you for asking. My heart is doing great. I went and got my driver's license in the state of Arizona today, and for the first time in my adult life, I put down less than 200 pounds on a driver's license, and I promise it was a very, very difficult thing to do. He did, Maxine. It's a very interesting point and true story. He was very into getting women pregnant very, very early on in the relationship. Absolutely, this happened. And Drew had a lot of children. He had children with 3 different women. Is there anywhere that the justice system is? Do you mean is there anywhere that the justice system isn't broken? That's probably a better question. You know what? This is. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that. This is an opportunity for me to go off on a really good tangent. But here's what it comes down to. Truth of the matter is, every justice system is going to be broken. You know why? Because that chick holding the scales, she's not blind. She's not. And neither are the 12 jurors. And we already know for a fact, right, that they have a prejudice going in, depending on how they're born, how they're raised. All of these things affect. We come up with the best concept that we can. It is far from perfect in any way. And I promise you, there are in some ways it's tragic. I'm walking back into court to go in front of a judge who has sentenced me before, right? This judge has made it really clear in the past how much he dislikes me. Been super open and honest about it. Well, then the next time I get in trouble, if he's already told the world he doesn't like me, shouldn't he have to recuse himself? I mean, a judge is, they're unbiased. They have to look at everything in an unbiased fashion. This person has already said, yeah, I don't like this guy. I don't like him at all. In fact, I think he's a piece of crap. I think he's a bad human being. Well, then, perhaps you're not that woman with the blindfold holding the scales, right? What if the person who was being tried, right? What if when they brought that person in handcuffs, we couldn't see them? For real. What if we couldn't see them? What if when they took the stand, right, we couldn't see what color they were? What if we just had to read all the transcripts? It would change the hell out of how things are done. And I'm telling you in both directions. You understand that once people start being hyper-focused on it, I told the story. You can call me whatever you want. The guy that got sentenced on the crime that I got sentenced on right before me, right, got less than 34 months. And I got over 100 because I was 5 years earlier, right? It would have been the exact opposite, right? For real. 5 years earlier, being a white guy probably would have gotten me a 34-month sentence. But about the time I was rolling in there, that was not a real benefit. And it was the same way when the pandemic thing was going on in prison. The people that were getting kicked out, I had a case manager say to me in the nicest way possible, really sweet lady, an older woman that just said to me, your complexion, you're wasting your time to file. I'm not bummed out about it. Let's keep it real. You know, you look at the laws. I've talked about the crack laws on here before, but the crack laws were written to screw over black people. Sorry, there's just not really any other way to put that. They were the most racist laws. I'm not hacking on lawyers. I've slept with a bunch of them, right? But they tend to do cocaine up their nose. I've met a bunch of lawyers in my time who snorted blow. Didn't meet a lot of lawyers in my time that smoked it, but I knew a bunch of lawyers that snorted it, right? So when they started writing these laws, there were guys with little bullets at night, for real. Got the people typing it up. Can I get ahead of that? Here. Right? These terrible crack rocks. And so if we'll do 10 to 1, 10 to 1 ratio, powder to rock, right? 10 times more time in prison if you get caught with a gram of crack was the equivalent of 10 grams of powder. Why? Because white people snorted powder. Okay? That wasn't considered a black drug. It was a white drug. Right? $100 bills, right? Cool movies, right? Woo! Crack was different. That was back alleys. That was 10 rocks, right? Now stuff was dirty. Let's we don't need that. Let's get rid of those people. Let's get rid of that neighborhood. Let's clean all that out. And that's what it was. I was in federal prison when we came around, when everybody went, oh, what? We did, huh? And the laws changed. And all you had to do was file. Do you know how many people still stayed in there? Because they didn't. Think about this for a second. The crack laws, they come out and go, oh my God, you're right. This is racist. I got an idea. Kick everybody out. Shouldn't be too hard. Go right down the list, right? Go right down the list. Go, all right. This guy's name is Walden, right? Terry Walden. Okay, Terry Walden is, we busted him on 9 grams of crack. He's doing this much time. Kick him out. He's already done more time than he should have if it had been powder. But they don't do that. No. Every single person has to file. And they have to file everything right. You don't dot the I the right way. You don't cross the T the right way. I'm telling you, you misspell one word, they send it back to you. Start again. But once you get it down, all I had to do was change out the names of the people, change out the amounts of the dope, whatever, and file. And it was me and like 6 or 7 other guys as fast as you could file. And we were just getting paid to do it, but getting people out as fast as we possibly could. As fast as we possibly could. Racist laws, right? There is no place that the justice system isn't broken. However, the way that you got to screw up a justice system is that you got to let 1,000 people who did it go free, but you can't screw up and let one person who didn't do it get convicted. And they're estimating that there's somewhere between 4 to 6% of the prison population could be innocent. I'm sorry, what? What? 4 out of every 100? That's a hell of a lot. Let me explain something to you. A unit, right, in a men's prison's got about 126 people in it. That means that I was never in a unit that didn't have at least one person in there that was innocent. I can't handle that. I swear to God, that I can't believe that that's true because it will drive me insane. It will drive me insane. And the people that I picked on, I don't think you have any idea. I picked on every single person who ever told me that they didn't do it. I did. I picked on every single person because it just, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I was guilty. I just figured that everybody just said that, but maybe some of them were. Maybe they're right. 4 to 6% of them are. And if that's the case, holy hell, we're a third world country. We're a fourth world country. Think I'm kidding? Right? Google how many incarcerated people there are in the U.S. Because we lead the world, right? And then multiply that number by 4%. And you start to realize that, holy hell. Okay? Holy hell. We're talking about a lot of people who didn't do anything wrong. And you know what? I'm trying to stir up a bunch of crap. I'm not. But I'm also the mayor of Realville. Huh? You want to go out on a limb and say, I'd be willing to bet you that maybe higher than 50% of those people who are falsely imprisoned are probably really tan, right? I mean, this is probably, I would be shocked if it wasn't wildly disparaging as far as the race goes. I'm sure that this is a very black and brown issue. That would be my guess. just because they tend to be horrifically represented in court. I can't tell you what it's like. I went to court once with an attorney who was in love with me, like for real in love with me. We ended up getting married. When you were represented by somebody that cares, it is astounding what it is like to have an attorney, right? Most of us have zero perspective on that, especially those of us who have committed crime, especially with those of us who committed crime with drugs and stuff, because we get public defenders and we meet them 8 minutes before sentencing, right? You're about to meet with the judge and they come in and they kneel down in front of you in the front row of the court, right? And they go, "Hi, how you doing? My name is Tommy. You planning on pleading guilty to this? I was looking over your case. Listen, I talked to the prosecutor. You plead guilty to this today, 30 days. You don't do anything wrong in the next 30 days. We get this expunged off your record, blah, 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 blah." The person goes, "Okay, I can do that." That's the whole process. Now you go, "Oh, yeah, but that's a minor thing." Yeah, guess what? If it's a big thing, same thing. Person comes and squats down next to you and goes, "So you're accused of ripping off, 16 Home Depots for a grand total of, $75,000. Here's what they're offering. You're going to do some prison time on this one, brother. There's no getting around that. You're going to do some prison time. If I could get you a 1 to 3 today, would you plead guilty to it?" It's like a used car lot. 1 to 3? Nah, I don't know, man. I don't know. You sit and you haggle and you cut deals. Could they get me to closer to this part of the state so I could be near my family? There's been a lot of people making jokes about the DM requesting a prison. I want to tell you something. Every single time you go to get sentenced, the lawyer will say to the judge, "Your Honor, Mr. Scoville would like to be close to his family who live in Brooklyn. So would it be possible if we could send him to Fort Dix, Your Honor? That way, that will be the closest federal facility, to his family." And the judge will say, "I'll put that down as a recommendation." And the Bureau of Prisons goes, "Nah, right? We don't take recommendations. Sounds good, but we don't actually do that." Right? I've never seen anybody get what they requested. The downside to have someone who cares a lot, I don't know. While you're going to court, there is no downside. There was no downside at all to having a lawyer that loved you. While you were going to court, that was really a fantastic thing. It was a fantastic thing throughout the entire process, to be honest with you. There was never any downsides. I was the downside, I'm afraid. In that particular situation, I was the downside. Story of my life. Magic pills. Careful. The magic pill concept has led many astray. People has led many astray. Here's the thing: there is no chance on God's green earth that Drew Peterson is going to live to 127 years of age. That it would be required for him to leave prison. He is filing every single thing he can file, and he's planning his escape. You think I'm being funny, but I'm not. He was always planning his escape. From the very first day that I met him, he leaned in close and said, "Oh, look at that kitty." He leaned in close and said, "I'm planning my escape." I said, "Are you?" He said, "Yeah." He was planning on getting some shirts from Unicorn. He had this whole thing all drawn out, planned out, and they found it. And he got sent to the hole. Drew's he's not sharp anymore. It's I would say it's sad, but it's not. He's a piece of crap. He is one of those people that you look at and you think they probably should just kill this person. I'm sorry. You can go ahead and hate me for that. But if by some chance this guy ever gets out of prison, a woman is going to die because of it. There's no doubt in my mind. That's just who he is. He's going to use that person until that person is no longer able to deliver what it is that he wants from that person, and then he is going to kill them. Right? Bad dude. And I'm telling you, I've only met a couple of them. And yeah, Ms. D, waste of skin. For real. Waste of skin. And I've only met a few. That's not to say that I didn't meet a lot of killers, because I did. But you meet some and you just, I don't know, you figure it in your head. I honestly can look at certain crimes. I'm not saying I can respect them. I'm not saying that I go, gotcha. No, you're a good dude. You're a good dude. I don't care what you did. You're a good dude. But I can understand it. I can understand it. Let's say I'm madly in love with a woman, right? The most important thing in the world to me. I love her more than life itself. And I walk through the front door coming home from work with a dozen roses in my hand, and I catch her and the neighbor naked and doing the horizontal bob. And you go, oh man, and you snap and you pull out a piece and you shoot them, one or both of them, in the moment, right? Moment of passion. You freaked out. You do that. I can see going, okay. I'm not saying it's justified, but I can understand why it happens, right? You can understand why somebody freaks out. Okay. I cannot do the same thing where I go, well, I was getting divorced and I didn't want to give her half my stuff, so I thought I would just break her neck and then have somebody cremate her. No, I can't get down like that. Drew did say it's because he's a cop and he's hated. We hate because you're a murderer. Here's the really funny thing. Yeah, temporary insanity happens right in the moment. Here's the reason that Drew has no longer, it's like you said, the things that made Drew somewhat charming are gone. He's not, narcissists tend to lose their charm, right? They tend to lose their charm. Narcissists are fake. They're reflections of the real people, right? And by that, I mean, they're the reflections of you. They're the reflections of me. They're the reflections of whoever that person. When you're with Drew Peterson, he's mirroring your emotions. I don't think he feels them at all. I really don't. And it's odd because you will see him act slightly different around different people. His mannerisms, everything kind of change almost to mirror the people that he spends more time with. There is no, like a shapeshifter. Yeah. He very much changes throughout the day. Thank you. This is a very important distinction. This is a very important distinction, right? Because he isn't just a cop, right? He's a piece of crap cop. He's a bad cop. And he was a cop, and he was a bad cop that had been caught for being a bad cop. Don't let him lie to you, because I heard the story, right? They were doing all kinds of stuff undercover. They were stealing money. They were stealing drugs, doing drugs, all kinds of stuff, right? Then there was a big open investigation. Somehow he did not lose his pension. Not for that. He did lose it for the murders. And oh, does that make him mad? Nothing on this planet makes Drew angrier than the fact that he lost his pension. He doesn't think that the Supreme Court, he's going all the way to the Supreme Court on this. Like, take OJ. OJ still gets his retirement from the NFL. You can't touch someone's retirement. That's always been the way it is. So why, Drew wants to know why the hell is it that they can touch his? Thank you, Midnight, by the way. All he can feel is the dopamine. There's something to this. He certainly does not feel in the same sense that we do, right? He doesn't. And I watched him. I've told the story. We had a mutual acquaintance. I'll just tell you his name. It doesn't matter, right? His name was John. We had mutual acquaintance named Johnson Bay. And JB got his ear bit, I'm sorry, not his ear, but his nose bit off, right? Right in front of our desk. We shared a desk, right? 2 chairs, 1 desk, a little, some stuff in between, mostly files. You know, we did payroll for all of the inmates and stuff like that. So the man who bit JB's nose off spit it under our desk. But Drew went and got some paper towels to pick this nose up. Excuse me. JB, oddly enough, was famous for putting his nose where it didn't belong, not being funny. That really is what the cat was kind of known for. So there was some irony to the fact that he got his nose bit off. But there were 35 or 40 people in this kitchen when this happened. Now, keep in mind, I'm not exaggerating. This man lost all of it, right? The guy took it off to the base. Very, very horrific. So now JB is running around the kitchen going like this. Look at this. Look at this. And you could look up into him. There was nothing here. It was like looking at a skeleton, right? It was horrific. It really was. One person did not seem to give a crap. One person did not. Everybody else in some way, and I'm talking about tough people. I'm talking about stone cold killers, most of them, all had a look on their face like, wow, man, that's hardcore. Like, wow, it's disgusting. Or, whoa, I mean, there was a lot of of really, really dark humor. People cracking jokes and some dark, dark humor. But this dude was different, right? His response to this was straight evil. It really is. It was straight evil. When he got this thing in the paper towel, he came up and just gave me the biggest grin ever and goes, "How do you love the irony of the fact that he couldn't seem to keep this thing out of other people's business?" And this is no way to describe people, but when people talk about, there's no such thing as evil people. There's people that do evil things and this and that. I got a news for you. This cat's evil, right? Kathleen Salvia can tell you that, right? Stacy Peterson can tell you that. And you know what? The most interesting part of that interview is when Ashley Banfield says to him, "You're not relevant anymore," right? Because I want to tell you something. He doesn't care about the kids. He said, "The only thing I care is what my kids think about." He doesn't care about his kids. I had so many conversations with him about his kids. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bum his kids out. I really am not. But know this, right? This is why I did the interview over on Esoteric Atlanta with Bryce. The reason I talk about this, right? I reached out to his kid. His kid reached out to me first. I reached out back, sent him an email, never heard back from him. And his kid, by all accounts, is a stand-up individual who has taken care of all of his father's children as if they were his. I mean, his life got flushed down the toilet when his dad did what he did. And he has met with victims, and I mean, he has just really been, I don't think everything crappy that seems to be Drew Peterson, his oldest son, seems to be the yin to that yang. He just seems like a great human being. But I would like especially Stacy's daughter to know that your mom didn't run out on you. Drew loves to talk about how Stacy's mom did this too, disappeared, and that this is just logical that she would do that. He has no problem allowing his children to think that, that mom just decided that she didn't care and was just going to walk out. Well, that's not the case at all. I'm sorry, but the truth is far uglier than that. The truth is that your dad's a murderer. Pretty bad dude. Sadly, a really, really bad dude. Doesn't make the kids such though. You see that all the time. You really do. His son. If you ever watch any of the interviews that have been done with Drew Peterson's oldest boy, my God, what a great guy. I mean, for real. And he is not he doesn't BS either about his dad. The last interview I saw him do, he came on and said, I don't believe he doesn't believe his father. He said he just does not. Yeah, that's very odd. What would be your opinion about an apartment complex that was abandoned, trap houses? If you don't know what that is, people, traps are places that people sling dope out of. But there were several city employees, police department, sheriff employees listed as owning anything strange to you. Yeah, I think that's pretty strange. Now, what I will say is this. I lived in a city where there was an epic corner of town where you could pull up and buy any drug you wanted at this intersection. It was a stop sign. And the people would run right up to the car. What are you looking for? Crack. All right, how much you spending? 50. And by the time you had moved 20 feet further down the road, there was a guy with a 50 rock at the window taking care of you. And it was all done with hand signals. It was the craziest crap in the world. And it was like that for a really long time. And then the police took over everything on the corner, right? The state then technically owned all of it. It stayed abandoned for about a year and a half while they decided what they were going to do with it. And then they tore it all down to the ground and they put up some housing and some other things there, a park. But so maybe that's a possibility. Maybe this complex was turning into a crack houses, trap houses and such. So it's been purchased by the city, and that's why it's looking that way. If not, I would contact local news crews, right? Don't put yourself around that, because if the crooked is that out in the open, I'd be scared, terrified of it. I'd be terrified of it. Mean it. I would be contacting people with platforms who can expose it, because that's scary stuff right there, man. I am afraid of people with badges who are bad people. I really am. I've had the crap kicked out of me by it. Yeah, like a McDonald's drive-thru, sadly. Awaken. That's what I'm talking about. Awaken says, I don't know. I plan on taking them over and turning them into a homeless shelter. That's what I want to do with the Celebrity Center. That's what I want to do with the Celebrity Center in LA. I think the cult of Scientology has had that puppy long enough. I think that that would just make a hell of a transition center. By the way, I have become a big fan of the term transition center. I don't like the term homeless shelter much, but I do love the term transition transition centers. Love it. I got chastised. The last place I went, they took me on a tour of the facility, and I said something about is this one of the homeless people or something like that? And the guy looked at me and he went, "We refer to them as guests." But he said it with a tone in his voice like, "I will slap you, convict. I don't think you think you're tough." Like he definitely had a bit of an attitude the way he said it. I liked it. I really did. I kind of liked it. I respected it. I love the idea of clinic, one stop, like the place that they did here in town. It is one stop shop. You walk in the front door of this, and from the very beginning to the very end, they literally brag that if a person goes in and takes advantage of every single part of this program, stays sober, does what they're supposed to do, the idea is to take somebody from not having a home to having a home, right? Not having a place to go, having a home, right? A place that you own. It is a beautifully put together concept, and it is all in-house. It is everything right there. So you're not running down the street to go get looked at for this, that, and this. Because I don't know about you, but I've had days, right? Many of them, where that's all it would have taken. Okay? You got me in a room, and I'm excited as hell at the prospect that I can get sober and that this is real. And they go, excellent, you can do this. I need you to go 4 blocks down, take a right, it's over. It's all over. You're going to let me out that door, and I'm going to go get dope. My body's going to go on autopilot. Like, that's who I was. I really would have done great with a place that was all in the house. I found one. They called it prison, right? And a black dude. Everything was in-house. It was all right there. Right there. Didn't have to go anywhere else. I was working out. I was working on my spirituality. Every single part of my life I was working on at the same time. And I had a high-paying job. I think at that point I was making $104 a month, which inside is big pimpin'. Q Ripples. That's right. Q Ripples. Spanx Calhoun. How are you? We're coming up on an hour, and I am gonna be shutting this puppy down. You know why, Calhoun? I'll tell you.
Why is that, Dad?
I'll tell you, because there is going to be a normal boat tonight, and I got a couple of things that I've got to do betwixt then and now.
Oh, betwixt
then and now. You're looking very Viking-like.
Thanks.
I think you look better with the hair down.
I've been shaking my hair and brushing it, just trying to get that real Viking sheen.
Viking sheen. Be a great name for a rock band.
Yeah, that's what they call it. No,
maybe
actually, I was shopping
Sheen
for cars.
Okay, that'll do it.
Yeah, some neat stuff out there. I'm not ready to purchase, but it's good to look. It's good to look and know.
I agree. It's also a great ambition device. Get you fired up and wanting to to get to work. I love it. Anything that makes me ambitious. Watches used to do it for me too.
So we're going on
watches
at the regular time in 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
Just a little under that. Sweet.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep. Transition centers. Love it. That sounds better. You're going to need some bear oil for that Viking sheen. I have a feeling Izzy E knows what she's talking about too.
What is bear oil?
Well, you're going to need to take that up with Izzy.
Well, I'm not doing that currently.
That's out of my wheelhouse. And Hummingbird, thoughts and prayers with you. Do not ever say sorry. Right? We know what you're going through. Do not. No sorries allowed. Beard oil. Maybe that is beard oil instead of beard oil.
That's what I thought, actually.
Either way, Calhoun wants to try this. He's open and willing, and I got to get running, people. But I am going to see you tonight, and we're going to have some fun. I'm going to do me a favor. I'd like to put the link for Ashley Banfield's interview. It's a short one, people. Even if you watch the entire thing, it's a short one, and it'll give us stuff to talk about on our Q&A nights. Because, damn, you got to watch this guy. This is Drew Peterson. Nope, I said bear. See that? I was right. You all were wrong. I was right. You all were wrong. Sorry. I'm not usually the kind of person that gloats like that. I can't back that up. I'm the kind of person that gloats like that every chance he gets. That's more honest. I'm gonna go with it. All right, people. I will see you this evening. Can you see that? That's a cat in a basket. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. We will see you on the next one. What do you think?
Cheers.
Bye, everybody. Cheers. That's the one I was looking for.